Hey everyone, Dan Telander here, aka Me. Just a heads up of what's to come today. For those of you who joined us on our previous episode, worshipping the In the Cage medleys, we mentioned our follow-up would finally be a Peter Gabriel album, that being Trespass. Well, that will be happening, just not today. Today's episode is a very special one. So during the summer, I happened to be touring in the States with a rather big band, of which I'll go into further detail about within the episode. And it was during this tour where us brothers Virgil and I were reunited in the flesh for the first time in literal years, as he managed to attend one of the shows in May. Later in August, not only did one of the shows take place within the close proximities of Virgil's home, but I also happened to have a couple of days off. So we got the idea to get together to record a one-off, well, hopefully not one-off, episode where we conducted a Q&A between the two of us, answering Genesis-related questions that somehow we hadn't thought of yet within our 40-plus years of existence. So, as promised, Trespass will certainly be next, but meanwhile, enjoy today's special episode of me and Virgil live in the flesh at some point in August from Santa Rosa, California.
Is that lighting okay?
Great blooper, right?
I know.
It's my hair, okay?
Well, me and Virgil, we beat the desert, riding fast and riding hard. We hit the city, the past behind us, so we raised some hell. We had some fun, washing dishes and making coffee.
We're recording.
No, I know that. Obviously, just checking that we're lit up well enough. Welcome to Me and Virgil, a Genesis Brothers podcast.
Special.
Special.
We're both here in the flesh.
This is not like a split screen here.
It's not AI or
No.
holograms or...
No. Even though it looks like it's probably AI, we've got the same shorts on and almost the same t-shirts on.
I mean, it just proves we're brothers.
Yes. Right. No. I just happen to be here on tour in the States, touring with the Australian Pink Floyd. And our next date tomorrow is Santa Rosa, here, Sonoma County, California. And this guy, Virgil, lives about 15 minutes away from here.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Don't give up my address, though.
No.
50 minutes in that direction. You don't know.
In that direction. somewhere.
Beautiful Sonoma County, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we thought we'd get together and have a special episode today. I was wondering if we just carry on with our episode subjects and everything, but then Virgil here had the idea, let's make this a special one.
Also, I just got back from a 2-week holiday, and the house is a mess, and everything's left up, and I haven't had time to prepare.
There you go.
But I guess we could let on what our next episode will be on.
Well, they should already know that, shouldn't they?
So, did we do that in the last one?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
But in case you forgot, we're going to cover Trespass.
Finally, we're going to touch on Peter Gabriel, era. So him.
Not in your favorites. No!
Oh! Yeah, so we figured let's just sit on the couch. We're here in my hotel room, and we thought let's just give each other like a Q&A sort of thing. So
Chat about how we thought the podcast has been going.
we could do that too.
Are we enjoying it? Was
Yeah.
one of us pressuring the other one to keep going, even though I hate it?
It's, one of us pressuring the other one to finish the bloody episode, taking ages to edit.
It's Steve going to leave the band at some point. We're going to be, and then there were one.
And the one, yes.
Well, I'll start with this one because it's always a good one. I always think of it. So, when you hear Genesis, when you hear the word Genesis, when someone says Genesis, what's the song that plays in your head?
Oh, God, that's a good one.
So there's one, I don't know why. Okay, I have to give you mine because I know it already. But anyway, it always pops into my head. Not my favorite song, but Invisible Touch. That always just starts playing. And it just starts in my head every time. Even though I'd love to be hearing, I don't know, Johnson of Volcano, anything else, I can't dance, anything, something like that. But that's the one that always comes to hit my mind whenever I hear Genesis.
Okay, interesting.
So just Genesis, what's playing in your head?
Right, I guess the Weekend Dance era stuff, so No Son of Mine.
Is that really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So. That well, first of all...
You really hate
mentioned
Peter Gabriel, don't you?
Yeah. No, I
Even
don't.
though you had all his solo albums.
So, it'd be No Son of Mine because I'm also picturing Phil in that era where, he's still got his receding hairline, but still a good chunk of hair in his head there in the smartly dressed Weekend Dance era, 91.
So does the song just start, is it like the chorus? Or
Yeah,
is
of course.
Just,
The chorus. Funny enough, yesterday, I just saw on YouTube saying Foo Fighters are playing at some stadium somewhere with the song No Son of Mine. And I thought, what? So I jumped on it, and turns out no, it's just a
It's
song.
just
It's just
the
one of
name.
theirs.
Oh, okay.
I was expecting. I
'Cause I
mean,
feel like Dave Grohl is a. I feel like he's
I would
done,
be so. I would
like
be
at
surprised.
some
if he
award.
was.
I think I haven't looked it up. I think I feel like it was some award survey or something. They've done some
Right,
Genesis thing or
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like
Well, because I was just thinking,
oh,
like,
the sweet sounds of Santa Rosa.
yeah, and I thought, are they doing a cover of No Son of Mine? They like to do covers of lots of
Mhm.
stuff. I know they're massive Queen fans, obviously.
Like what was it? The Did Jesus He Knows Me?
Ghost.
Yes.
Yes. Oh
A
yeah,
very X-rated, intense version.
yeah. Plus extra X-rated video as well.
If
Don't-
you haven't seen it, go check it. YouTube.
Keep it away from your
Ghosts,
kids.
No
Okay.
Son of Mine. Yes.
Keep it
Not
away from your kids.
NSFW. Very much so.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, good question. That's a good question.
I've wanted to ask it for a number of times.
Yeah.
And if we
No,
ever
I
end
probably
up-
because that was the album that started it all for us.
Yeah,
for
that makes sense.
nostalgic reasons.
But I just don't know why that's connected to me, but it just feels like that's.
Well, I
what it
think
is.
because as far as I know, that was probably the first Genesis song we ever heard in our lives.
Interesting.
Because I think I would still remember the late '80s,
Yeah.
where it was kind of being on TV
Yeah.
somewhere like that, and there's a shot of Phil singing it, which would make sense because it was only a couple of years
So it
old.
literally like formed a groove in my brain that I can't get out.
There you go.
I mean, I don't hate the song. I like it just fine.
I know.
But it's not my favorite, so you'd think my favorite would be the one, but no.
No,
I've tried to change it, but I
there you
can't.
go. It's probably nostalgic reasons. for
Hard
it.
written into my code.
Yeah. I just realized that actually, if you put the initials of Invisible Touch, you actually get the title song of the last Lamb Lies Down on Broadway song.
When initials or
Invisible Touch, IT. Put them together,
Ah.
get it.
oh,
Sorry, just a geeky trivia nerdy thing there.
Mm.
So
Okay,
connected? Who knows? All right, my turn.
not connected.
Well, I think we might have covered this.
But that would be a fun episode if we started doing weird word game
Oh
things.
God,
Like,
we would have.
Invisible Touches, that's an anagram for Steve is dead or something, things like that. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, Invisible Touch. Steve's first solo album after Genesis was called Please Don't Touch.
No!
Things like this, So
And doesn't Peter Gabriel have a song? I Have the Touch.
I have the touch. Oh man, everyone's got it. Okay, now we're gonna look through Tony's repertoire. Has he got the word touch in his records there anywhere?
I don't know his stuff well enough.
Just Phil,
Or Mike and the Mechanics.
or Mike.
I can't think of one.
Anthony.
Mike and the
Does Anthony
Mechanics.
have? Surely Anthony's got a song in there with the
Again,
word touch in
I
there
listened to a
somewhere.
lot of his stuff, but
Yeah.
actually, another thing I wanted to mention, because it's a random fact, but this is a perfect episode to do it. I'm doing something special this year with Spotify, because you know how they do in September, October, the wrap, where they show, here's what you've been listening to all year and stuff like that. And they give a whole. So
the rap with the.
I made a deal this year to myself. I'm only going to listen to Genesis
Ooh.
and Genesis solo artists.
On Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I listen while I'm at work and stuff and driving around and things like that. Yeah. So I have all the Genesis stuff and then all the, including Genesis to Revelation.
Ooh.
I think. Maybe it's not. No, I don't think it is actually.
I
but
remember
it does
last time
have
you didn't
Archive
include it,
1, the fourth.
Oh,
disc.
okay,
That
okay,
is
okay,
on
okay,
there.
okay.
Because it's all good songs, as we know.
Ooh, I just thought I was adding something to the question.
Good. And then, and it's all solo artists, including, well, I picked Some Steve, because I don't like all Steve.
Oh.
But Some Steve, like the not Other Side of Genesis. That's on there, though, from Daryl Sturmer's album. I don't know if you heard that.
No.
Other Side of Genesis, it's Daryl on guitar playing a lot of
The
Genesis songs.
instrumental version.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if someone does really interesting and jazzy, someone just really different. And,
Okay, cool.
Great. Other Side of Genesis. But what's the fills? Genesis Revisited. Not,
Steve's.
Angus, yeah.
Yeah.
Genesis Revisited I have on there, and then I've got all of my...
Both? He's done 1 and 2.
Yep, both. And then
Okay,
I got... I skipped past his songs. Because he has a few of his songs on those albums, too.
He does. He does.
I was like,
yes.
what's this? This is a Genesis.
Yes, he does.
And then I Mike Mechanics and all of Phil, of course, and all that stuff. And also there's an interesting Phil album on Spotify called Other Sides, I think it's called.
Phil.
And it's not an official album release, but it has all his a bunch of B-sides and stuff on there that's never been
Cool.
officially released, but it's on Spotify, which is kind of cool.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's not
Thanks,
like, Don't Call Me, Call Me Ashley,
Call Me Ashley.
and a lot of those other ones that haven't made it onto those, the album versions. The
Take a look at me now version.
that
thing.
should have been on there, but weren't. It annoyed me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, so it's like, and if you look at it, it's like 2 days of music, I think, if you play it straight.
That's like a.
But anyway, so that's all I've been doing. So once we hit the finish
Nice.
and the wrap, I'll be able to listen to other stuff. But that's all I've been doing.
Sounds like a.
And you know what?
Wow.
It's really good.
I bet it is. Yeah.
I sing along to most of the songs, and I've really been enjoying most events and you fit up stuff.
Fantastic.
Just beautiful music, yeah.
Okay.
It's a nice mix.
So there you go. If you like to have a dirty Genesis weekend,
Yeah, I'll tell you what. We can put the link in the show notes for this one, and then you
There
can
you go.
listen that way. Yeah.
book yourself a hotel room if you can, or a motel, and put Spotify up there. Just go crazy.
How do I call it? You keep talking while I
don't know.
find the place.
Well, actually, I mean, that sounds good. I think we can move on to another question, which, if you're okay, if you multitask. So
Genesis Universe is the thing it's called.
or Geniverse. So yeah.
Okay.
So we might have covered this in episode 1, but if you could be any Genesis member, who would it
Back
be?
to the dark, distant 2020
2023s. It was 23s, wasn't it? Ooh. There's our anniversary coming up soon then, for the first episode.
October, I think.
Really? Okay. Well,
It's coming.
We missed
Depends how quickly you keep pushing out the episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost, whatever you're doing, all this touring stuff
Yeah,
that
I
seems
know.
to steal your time, flying,
we'll come
jet
to that.
setting.
We'll come to that too.
Yeah.
actually,
Okay, so what was your question? I totally missed it. Something about it.
Yeah, I knew you could multitask. Yeah, so which Genesis member could you be? Now, I believe we might have covered this in the first episode, so apologies if we have. But maybe
we didn't. We did favorites. Your favorite member.
Favorite member.
But not if we could be one.
Okay, so if you could be a Genesis member. Who would
Does that mean you're living their entire life?
Sure.
So if I'm picking Phil, I'm getting divorced 4 times.
Yeah, you are.
And then
Yeah.
I'm aging incredibly fast from
Yeah, because exactly. Yeah,
from 2015 to
yeah,
2023.
exactly. So basically, I guess living.
But you
living
have
that life.
his life of the 80s
Yeah,
and getting
exactly.
to play
You have
with,
his skills as a
getting to play
musician,
with Eric and
production, and acting, and all these things. Yeah. Or Tony,
or
or Mike, or Steve. Could be any. Could past,
Yeah.
present. Well, present.
Steve.
Yeah.
I gotta think. Do you have one? Do you have yours picked?
Oh yeah.
Well, you go first. What I'm
Phil.
thinking.
It'd be Phil. Yeah.
Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was wondering, it'd be interesting with Tony and everything, but the life that Phil has led, because he hasn't just stuck with music. He's just branched out into production and acting and Live Aid and all these things. He's had a thrilling life. If I could control it, then I would just say all right, I'll just go through this life. I'll just make sure to watch my drinking. So that's all. Oh, plus maybe try and I don't know. Oh, invent I guess invent the internet and invent mobile phones so I can stay in touch more with my kids. That way, maybe one of my marriages would have lasted longer. So yeah.
I don't think so.
I
think it's just
know.
kind of guys.
Unfortunately, yeah. That's a good question. If he could be like, it's a bit like the movie Inside John Malkovich. Could you actually have control of them? So anyway, but yeah, be Phil because of the crazy, amazing life he's led. Yeah,
He really has. Yeah. I have to go with Mike. I think.
Ooh, interesting. I was presuming we would have gone straight to Tony.
I would, but his solo career never quite.
Yeah, I know.
But then his solo project was Genesis, but he's my favorite guy.
Yeah.
But I think Mike has. I remember Dave from Ozzy Floyd saying Mike just seems the even keel, almost background guy, but also very important to holding
True.
everything together.
Mm.
Never pushes things too far, never ever does anything, and just I feel like Mike has enjoyed himself from day one with Genesis to now because he's still going. He's still doing his solo stuff.
He's still playing. He's still playing Genesis songs too.
Guess the fire station.
Oh, that's the fire station. Okay. So we had police, fire.
This is how live we are here.
Yes.
Live emergencies happening.
I thought someone was just going. Some kid.
A crow.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mike, because he, he's still playing now. He's changed his singers a few times in his band. He's got different writers. But he's still clearly, he'd stop if he wouldn't. But he's still clearly enjoying himself.
Yeah.
And he shows up at various benefits and things, plays a lot of golf. I remember our dad telling us.
I didn't know he played golf. Oh,
yeah, he showed up at different, there's a few photos of him playing golf in different places. And I remember our dad years ago, I don't know what it was, sometime after the 90s, I know that, in the 2000s, when he was talking with a friend of his or whatever, who said he had just been playing golf with Mike Rutherford somewhere.
Whoa!
Somewhere, yeah.
Wow.
Because he just goes around and plays
Didn't
golf
know
and
that.
does stuff, yeah.
Okay.
It just seems to really enjoy himself.
Yeah.
Whereas Phil, it's like he obviously had the amazing career he did and all that stuff, but he definitely has some regrets.
Yeah.
Tony obviously had a fantastic career. I feel he felt he should have been bigger in some ways and has some regrets in that way. Steve is also seems like a pretty happy guy all the time too.
He's just
and loving what he's doing.
He's just loving what he's doing. He's just released his.
I guess if I was more into his stuff, I might have picked him because he seems to
he's
love.
just yeah.
And he seems like such a kind person. Always. Mike does too, but he's not so present. Whereas Steve, it just feels like he's always out and about during gigs. Like I see photos of him hanging out with fans.
He's just
all the
everywhere.
time.
I think he's just released his album as well. He's just active all the time and just.
Was it the way?
Circus and the Whale, I think it is. Yeah. I'm not too sure. I had his last couple of albums, and the second album really felt like a direct sequel to the previous album. And at first, it kind of went over me a little bit. I was kind of a bit like, because I know that he likes to record from home. I think he particularly set that up during the whole COVID time and everything.
Right.
And he works with his keyboard player Roger King, who produces his albums a lot. And Roger King is not just playing keyboards; he's doing loads of programming, orchestral programming, but particularly drum programming. I can actually tell when it's programmed drums
it's not real
compared to live drums. I mean, they sound great. It's just that it's like, okay, I was like, you've got your old drummer back, Gary O'Toole, for just literally one half of one song on a whole album. And then he moves on to other programmed drums and everything. I'm kind of thinking, like, what made this decision to do that? Anyway, different topic. So, yeah. So, Mike Rutherford, then, it would be.
Yeah, because he seems to have the most happiest life. He
And
hasn't dealt with all the arguments between Tony and Peter, storming out, and Phil wondering what the hell's going on and stuff. And Mike's just,
and he's got the best of both worlds because they still play Genesis songs in the Mike set, in the Mike Mechanic set as well. So
even if Jesus Who Knows Me doesn't sound that great now with the new singers, but he's happy with it and he's doing it.
That's true. He's touring again, so.
He's actually just about to start another UK tour.
But now, who's on drums then? Is it back to Gary Wallace?
I did not look that far.
Because obviously it was wonderful to have Nick last time. So, and then you actually got to hear Jesus Who Knows Me, and so so that's what Nick would have done.
It might be Nick. Well, they did do it in that rehearsal footage. In a vault somewhere.
I watched that documentary again recently. I was like, hey, there's Jesus Who Knows Me in here, but instrumental a little bit.
We decided this a year or two ago that we might do this. I don't know, really. I mean, why not, in a way? I mean, if people still want to see us, I'm very proud of all the music we've done, and it's a great opportunity to play it.
We got together in January of this year, 2020, and it went very well. The 2 weeks in New York that we did do.
Well, there's the 2-hour footage that they have of it all somewhere in a vault that needs to come out and
maybe Mike has it. Who knows? So if you were Mike, you get that footage. So second you're there, like, right, show me the vault, because then you would know the vault, obviously, because you would have the knowledge and everything that Mike has too. Okay, your
interesting. So let's talk a bit about Ozzy Floyd and the things you're doing. Why don't you set that up, because we haven't had a chance to talk about that as much. I mean, that's reason why our episodes have slowed down a bit, because your life has changed greatly for the better.
Yes. Well, a few months, so many years ago, when I moved to London, I started to work with this guy called David Fowler. And
David Dominic Fowler.
Well, David Dominic Fowler. I never really knew him as Dominic Fowler back then, so I don't know if he actually went by Dominic Fowler back then. I think it's more because there's probably a few David Fowlers out there. Yeah, exactly. So he wanted to be more stage.
Well, that way, if you need to find him, you can do the full name to find him. Yeah.
So he had a studio in southeast London, South Bermondsey, called Rogue. Really great studio. So my first studio experience as well in London. I was with this band at the time. And we ended up recording there, and because we were so impressed with his work and everything about that, we just kept going back there for years and years and years. So that was back in 2002, and I'm working with the guy today because he ended up becoming the new guitar player for the Australian Pink Floyd, because he'd known the band for a long time as well, knew a lot of friends in it and everything. Because even though it's Australian, the band is pretty much English.
Do you want to do a quick history of the band?
Oh, right. Well, the band was originally set up in 1988 by 5 Australians. And as they realized that, we're not really... In Australia. As they realized we're not really getting much work here in Australia, they decided to try it elsewhere. And apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently their family actually is English. So
because, I heard this because I was at that Q&A with... First time I saw you this year with Ozzy Floyd. And Dave was saying, that... There was one guy who went to England, probably to see his family.
No, he went to England because of his. I can't remember which relative it was, but sadly she died and went to England to the funeral. And then from there on, he made contact with someone.
Because there was some fan club out there, I think, too.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, basically
gigs.
like made a contact with someone out there, and then basically picked up a contact there, and that's what got the band over.
Right, and this is what he said: everyone come over here. We're going to tour England and make it.
Yeah,
and this was in like 88,
89, maybe something like that.
A huge risk that
massive.
For a tribute band that was barely a thing at that point.
Yeah,
and yet. The rest is history.
The rest is history. Then they just kind of went on from there because of what their concept was. They said we want to make it as perfect as what's it called, as identical to the albums as possible. You see, primarily, and what they always say is like there are four major albums in Pink Floyd, depending on your Pink Floyd history. Knowledge of Pink Floyd, where The Dark Side of the Moon, no doubt you know about that album. Wish You Were Here, which has got Wish You Were Here, Shine Like a Crazy Diamond, the album Animals, and The Wall. Those four major albums, the band generally sticks to playing as like the originals. Other versions, they'll play around when they do live versions, but that's what they primarily do. And that seems to have really ticked off to like really kick off for them because like take off, kick off. I do kick off, take off.
Piss off.
Piss off. And it's been over 30 years, and now the original Aussie members.
Oh, there's the other thing highlight too was I don't know when it was in the 90s, but. David Gilmour.
That's true. Yeah, word got around, and David Gilmour, Pink Floyd guitarist, invited them to play at his 50th birthday party, which they happily
sometimes.
Which they happily
big selling point.
Happily accepted.
Put that on your CV.
And I don't know if you know this, but apparently George Harrison was at that party too.
Of course he was,
and he was sitting there in the front row.
I was as well. No,
yeah. He was apparently sitting there in the front row. And we're in a legal state here with a massive joint, apparently this big.
Oh yes, completely legal here. Just go down.
Yeah, exactly. So he was sitting in the front row, apparently massive joint, and he couldn't remember anything apparently. So if that, so and obviously the band has many times interacted with Dave Gilmour, Nick Mason as well.
Yep.
One of the backing singers, Lorelei McBroom, she has toured with Pink Floyd back in 87 and 89.
Delicate Sound of Thunder and all
for the Delicate Sound of Thunder. Her sister played with Pink Floyd quite often. She's on the Pulse. Durga McBroom, she's on the Pulse DVD. And I believe she's on the album as well, the Division Bell album, I believe.
Oh.
I'm not sure. But they both have worked with Steve Hackett as well. Dave Fowler has recorded Durga, the McBroom sisters, for maybe not for Steve Hackett's album, but for another album they did together called the McBroom Sisters album.
We are planning to have Dave on as a guest.
That's right,
guest interview type thing because he's got lots of stories.
Yeah, and he became a true like a Genesis fan like quite a few years back. He did. I remember him sending me a message saying like I'm checking out some Peter Gabriel era. And this
actually it's COVID, I think, wasn't it?
Probably, yeah. And he says I'm really enjoying this stuff, and then turns out the singer of Australian Pink Floyd, Chris Barnes. He messaged me and saying like, Dan, I discovered your podcast. I didn't know you're such a Genesis geek. So am I. And we've been chatting like nonstop ever since about it. Turns out he really is a massive Genesis geek. So
and I did get him. I got Chris's shirt too, as well as Dan. Yeah,
that's right.
But Dave's got also stories to share, which we want to hear. But about Steve Hackett and also with Phil, which is interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, which we'll do when we get to that eventually.
So through that, then I obviously went to see Ozzy Floyd with Dave Fowler, and then Dave Fowler got into the band. Dave Dominic Fowler. And then, of course, pretty much from day one, I think I always expressed to Dave saying, like, I'm up for if you need a depth.
And you're on the DVD at Hammersmith, whatever the DVD they made. Remember, because you're in the crowd.
Oh right, I see. The Hammersmith DVD.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're in the crowd off to the right.
Yeah, and actually, there's a documentary as well called I can't remember what it was, but it's a black and white documentary of Ozzy Floyd back in 2000.
Did Dave make it?
6, 7, I think like that. And
did Dave make it? Because he usually does.
Probably, yeah. But they were doing a production rehearsal
at
Bray Studios in England, just close to London. And after it's kind of like they're showing bits of most of the footage of the rehearsal, but at the same time they're talking about the band and blah 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 blah. But at the end of it, they're asking these people what you thought of the concert and everything. And actually, you can catch my wife, who's actually being interviewed, saying, "What do you think of it?" And she was kind of like, "Oh, it just sounds exactly like the real thing." But she's just there on it,
Cool.
I mean, it was pretty cool. So then, years later, I was just kept expressing how I.
But then you got married.
But then we got married. Yeah.
And Dave was at the wedding.
Dave played at
and
the wedding.
I was at the wedding.
That's right.
And I met Dave there.
And you met. That's right. You met Dave there.
For the first time.
And we did play "Wish You Were Here" and "Another Brick in the Wall" at the wedding as well.
As well as some Genesis.
One Genesis. turn it on again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which you dedicated to me, which was pretty cool.
Yes. And actually, I started to gig with Dave as well. He eventually...
And that was 2011?
Oh, God. Maybe not... Oh, the wedding was 2011, yeah. But a little bit before that, 2010, I think, I started to work... Dave kind of eventually... The original band that we recorded with, that kind of kept evolving to become a new band and a new band and a new band. Eventually, Dave became the lead singer of that band.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he was the lead singer.
But then... Obviously, he got the Ozzy Floyd job, and
was that the one where his girlfriend was the singer for a while?
Yes, and Ricky, the bassist player for Ozzy Floyd, was the second guitarist in that band as well. So
I never knew. Wow, I didn't know Ricky's already showed up.
So I was basically playing with like two members of Ozzy Floyd there. So yeah,
as usual, it's a small world.
But of course and through when we started playing the couple of gigs, which in the end it became Dave's songs that he had. That's how much this band kept evolving. That we were playing two charity shows, and through those charity shows, that's where I met the drummer, Paul Bonnie. And keep forgetting his name's actually Paul. We all know him as Bonnie. And because he set up these charity events, you see. Cool. We were playing at these, so we're like Manchester and Salford, Manchester kind of area in England.
Where he lives.
Yeah, he's a Salford lad, so yeah. So that's how I met Bonnie, you see. And I thought, okay, cool, I'm meeting the drummer from Ozzy Floyd. This is slowly working my way in. But of course, Dave got the job, so he was away half the year. So the band kind of like didn't really go much. And then I got married, and then my wife and I said, like, we want to leave London and say goodbye, and blah, blah, blah. So we moved to Berlin, And
but you kept seeing them because they
kept coming to Berlin. I kept seeing Ozzy Floyd coming to Berlin. Pretty much every year I was in Berlin for 10 years, and I probably saw them maybe 7 to 8 times. I couldn't see them every year. So
I pretty much the same thing because they would come over here, and I get to see them here.
Yeah.
And literally where you're going to be playing tomorrow with them, I've seen. That's the last time I saw them here.
Yeah.
In 2018, I think it was.
Right. Yeah, and it was funny because
No, 2016, because it was when Trump got elected.
Okay. That was the year that the singer Chris Barnes and Ricky joined the band as well.
Oh.
That year,
Okay.
So they, if I'm correct, might be 2014. So they might have been celebrating next year the 10-year anniversary.
Well, because
2015.
There's a random Pink Floyd stuff here, but what's his name? Alex. Yeah, the singer.
Oh, the old singer. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
And I think it was that year, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the same thing because Chris joined the day after Ricky joined. So yeah. But and funny enough, when I kept going to those shows, and when Chris eventually joined the band, but Dave and Bonnie obviously always saw me in the crowd, and I was always air drumming.
Right.
And
Chris Barnes, you've been seeing him on and off.
Yeah,
for years, basically. Yeah.
But Chris Barnes, when you go to see a Ozzy Floyd show, he comes on stage, sings his parts, and when there's instrumental moments or anything like that, he'll walk off.
He
will come back on stage, and he will add acoustic guitar for Comfortably Numb. But otherwise, you would just think of him as a singer, which is what I did. Turns out, though, no, he's an absolute music nerd, and he plays guitar, lead guitar, all sorts of instruments. He plays drums as well, and he was also the one who went backstage afterwards during break time saying, "There's this bloke in the audience who is nailing the drum fills bit by bit by bit." And they said like, "Oh yeah, that's our mate Dan. We told you he's coming tonight." I'm like, "Oh, that's Dan. All right, cool." So I got to meet him afterwards. And
they said, "Yeah, every gig he shows up, he's auditioning. So he's trying to get in the band."
And I liked Chris straight away because I recognized his T-shirt, and his T-shirt said "Wish you were beer." So yeah, I liked him straight away, Chris. And so then this year I got cut off all of end of last year, I think it was beginning of this year. Anyway, I got a call from the drummer Bonnie. We just kept meeting. Oh, that's right. End of last year, I saw them in Berlin, and then Bonnie came backstage, and he was so happy to see me and everything. And Bonnie said, "Mate, do you want to be my dep?" And it's like, you freaking kidding me? I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting you to ask me this question for 14 years, Because Dave did say way back in the day, like, I want to make you the dep. Maybe we might want to have a lineup to play in Europe and a lineup to play in the States.
Yeah, I remember that too. That was a long time ago.
And I was thinking like, cool, I'll be happy to do one in the States or where, I don't care. And but it just never happened. And I just kind of figured like, well, that's it. I'll just see these guys and I'll just be mates with them, and that'll be it.
But weren't you also his drum tech for a little while?
Oh God, I forgot about that. Why did I forget about that? I just choose to forget about that. 2019, it was. I was going
to say this cues the drum bit. Dan put the drum bit thing in here. What's a drum tech, and what do they do, and how important are they for the drummer, and how does it relate with the drummer?
Drum tech. So a drum tech is basically
Since you now have one as well as have been one.
yeah, that's right. I was one, and now I have one. So a drum tech. Well, if you reach a certain music, a status
Level.
as a musician, and you can afford it, ideally you would hire someone to help, if not help, but also just solely set up your drums for you, because it's it can be a tough job setting up the kit. Plus, it depends on what kind of drum kit you want to have. If you've got a basic drum kit, really simple drum kit, then it might not be so
Couple
bad.
drums
But-
or whatever and stuff.
Exactly. But whereas a drum kit like this drum kit, and because I'm using Bonnie's drum kit on this tour, because I'm substituting for him, he's got a really big kit. And in 2019, he asked me if I can jump on and be his drum tech, because there was a little issue with their drum tech, and
That's right.
they had to quickly replace him there and then within a 2-week, literally the last 2 weeks of their European tour.
Which again helped that you'd been in touch all these years. And
There you go.
kept doing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah. They
making
called me up and
connections.
just said, like, Dan, can you fly out to France tomorrow to do
Yes.
this thing? I was like, okay. So that's basically a person you have. When you get to a point you can afford it, you hire someone to help you with that. Because, and I always kind of, even when I started doing this tour and everything, I still felt a little bit like guilty about, I feel like I want to help and everything. And Dominic Fowler said to me, well, when I first joined this band, I was kind of the same way. Like, I was kind of helping out and things. It's like, listen, you don't have to do that. Okay, you are paid to perform. These guys are paid to do this, and they are used to it. Okay, they wear the protective gloves. Anything can happen in this process. Okay, the main reason they're doing it is not because you could be all prima donna-ish and say,
Because you're lazy.
No, the main reason is anything can happen. You lift something up, you drop it, it catches your finger, you pull the finger back, you pull your finger, break your finger, you can't perform. That's it. That is the main reason why they do this. And I thought, thanks, that actually helps me big time. So it's a major thing to have. So I feel now less guilty that the drum tech is doing what they're doing, and then I
plus,
can
you
do
could
what I
not
do.
even just you an accident. You could drop a drum too, and it's not like they have 3 spare kits available.
No,
either.
and plus, if anything goes go wrong during the show, it's not me
Right.
that has to try and sort it out.
You're
I'll be
busy
like,
playing.
I'll be like, Ryan, come over here. Although there's a funny story with that, which actually I answered in the last Q&A. Because most shows, we have VIP guests come in, and they
Oh, really?
pay
I
for
wouldn't know about
VIP.
that.
Yeah. And they come
Says the
in.
guy who's always been a VIP
Yeah.
at Fuzzy Floor.
So about maybe half an hour before doors start, normally half an hour before doors start, you got VIP guests who come in, and obviously sometimes most of them do show up, most of them don't show up, because most of them. Anyway, half show up, half don't. They just want the fancy seats,
Sometimes when you're at sound check, it's just me,
Yeah.
my dad,
Sometimes just the
and
bus-
my son watching in the front row
Yeah.
while they sound check, which is a very cool experience.
Sometimes it's just the bus drivers, watching. But yeah, they will come, and then we play a song that's not in the set list, and then after that we stand at the front there, and they can basically ask us questions whatever they want. And one of them said, "What's the most embarrassing, funniest thing on stage with you?" and everything. And I remember my third gig with the band, which was back in Europe. It was in Berlin. My friends were in the audience, and it was the last song of the set. And I was basically playing, and then I had these wind chimes, which I have to roll my stick through, you see. But that was when the stick is now mounted to
I'm
this
trying to think of the
barrier.
Genesis songs that have it.
Genesis songs.
Yeah, for those wind chimes.
For the wind chimes. It's what's it called? It's what's that B-side from Trick of the Tail?
It's Yourself?
It's Yourself. There's loads of like wind
Oh,
chimes.
wait,
I think.
is it It's Yourself? It is It's Yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was actually thinking of in my
Yeah.
head. I thought Ripples at first. I was like, it's not Ripples,
No,
but
really,
it's off that album.
No, but it's off that album. I think it's the B-side to
And there's
Ripples.
some on Lamb too. We felt playing.
Yes. But
We're just trying to inject some
sure.
Genesis
We will get back
into
to
this.
Genesis. Don't worry. Yeah. So back to Pink Floyd. Anyway, but it was the last song.
Well, just to throw this in too, Genesis is at the top. Right under that is Pink
Yeah.
Floyd, right?
It's
so
like,
it's not like
they're like right.
it's
under
not like,
there.
well, I guess I'll do Pink Floyd, but
no, they're like right up there.
Oh, and the other point I forgot to make was when you were talking about the accuracy of Ozzy Floyd, they're a lot like the musical box.
Yes.
Which
Oh,
go-
yes. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that goes-
No.
The musical box goes even further because they do all the costumes and screens and everything. But,
In terms of the status of Australian Pink Floyd, they are basically like the musical box for
Yeah,
Pink
level.
Floyd level.
they don't.
that
Well, I
kind
guess
of
they
level.
never really dressed up in outfits, but they have the
No.
the
Screen,
screen.
but everything else
They
about
have
that.
the lasers, which is
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, the light show
Yeah,
is
the
just
screen, the lasers,
shocking.
the full works. Full works. So
and plus, I guess we could ruin it. A giant pink kangaroo
yes.
because they're Australian. and
Because
it's
they're
amazing.
Australian, yes, exactly. Yeah. But so I was playing these wind chimes as part of the song,
Mm-hmm.
but now they're mounted to the entire rack of the kit. But back then they had their individual stand, and I was just playing and
Did you knock
everything.
it over?
And I was like, I felt less pressure this time. I looked over and it's like the whole stand was falling over. I was like, oh crap!
Towards you, is it?
No, it flew to the left. I was
Okay.
like, okay. So of course I immediately looked over to tech guy Wayne.
Who's
What's
on it?
happening? But then, and I couldn't see. There was just smoke and dark, and I couldn't see him. I just went like to gesture to come over. Unfortunately, though, it was the last song of the set, and he warned me. He said, "By the way, the last song, I'm not there.
I'm going for a pee."
I am mounting the local crew." Ready to pack things up. Because as soon as you guys walk off that stage, then begins our
The
job
countdown
to
of taking it down.
to get everything out, and that's when he's organized because he's the stage manager.
He would
as
have
well,
been
you see.
then. Okay.
He's a stage manager. So I looked up and I was like, wait, but that's like, oh, that's right, he's not here. So I had to kind of bring it back up. All on my left hand and left foot is still playing the drums in this.
Sounds like a
song.
wonderful Spinal Tap moment.
Oh yeah,
It reminds me of
it truly was.
when Derek Smalls was trapped in the weird
Yes.
crude thing, and he's like,
Yeah.
and he keeps playing, and they're like hammering on
Well,
it. trying to get him
Dave
out.
actually has a similar story with that too. Like a few years back, when they started with actually the same song that we're starting with this set, but they had this big veil covering the stage right at the start. And what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to reach this pinnacle moment of the song, ba ba ba, and the veil falls down.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
But the veil didn't fall down. And then like, what we're gonna do, and eventually they start getting crew to take it out. It really was a Spinal Tap moment, right? And then the veil finally fell down, fell onto Dave's mic stand, and then the crew started to just yank it away, and it pulled Dave's mic stand over onto the ground.
Well, at least they had it turned off, right?
And they started to drag it on the floor because they were pulling it away. So as you can't get more Spinal
That's
Tap
not on
than
video,
that.
is it?
No, sadly. Well, I
okay.
don't know. Maybe someone ran some book.
Anyway, well, I think that wraps up our.
So anyway, yeah. But basically,
Drum
long
tech.
story short, I got the call and says, "Can you help out?"
Well, this is drum tech we're still talking about here.
Oh, that's
No.
true. Yeah, the drum tech. Yeah.
So, and
basically,
drum tech.
a drum tech. That's what a drum tech does. Helps you out.
Skip to the end.
So 2 weeks before the end of the European tour, June 9, 2019, I was Bonnie's drum tech for those 2 weeks. It was scary as heck.
Pressure.
Major pressure and all that stuff. I don't want to go through it again.
Because it's different to. I mean, because you play the songs, you're playing the set stuff, but you're working with this crew and you're on a time limit and all this stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, there's a couple
Setting
of
it
guys,
up and taking it down.
a couple of the crew I knew. I mean, the whole people in the band, in the whole corporation, they make you feel so welcome.
Good.
There's no divas or anything like that. We're all the same. We're all one family here, and it's really wonderful. So I didn't feel like anything that was outside or anything like that. But like, obviously, there was still pressure of like getting us all down on all those things and like taking.
And it's not like you've gone through drum tech school. Or
No,
anything.
and
and you have to
packing,
remember how
and
everything
that was,
is.
and also packing up, setting up and packing down Bonnie's 10,000 pound gong every single night as well. Just things like these, you
What
see.
happened
And
to
then,
that? It's gone, isn't it?
no, we still got it. Just that we're not using it on this tour. So, yeah. So, but like,
So
of
it's
course,
not gone then.
no, it's not gong. And then you got to tell the local crew whether you're in France or whether you're in Germany or whatever. In the best communication you can to say, right, you pack this away, you got to pack this away, you got to like be organized and all that. Very, very on a tight time scale. So I don't want to go through that again. So I'm very happy now when I got the call from Bonnie saying, can you help out for the US tour? Because I need to have some operation on my leg issue. So I won't go into too much detail. So that's basically how I'm here. And that's how I'm here now. And
that's how I got to see you in.
And that's
End
how.
of May.
There you go. I got to meet this guy for the first time in 10 years. Plus, last time I meet his boy again, because last time I
eldest.
I talked to his boy, was going goo goo gaga while holding him as a 4-week-old baby. So and then there I was like, oh yeah, we did lift him up again.
We did recreate the photo of it.
Once we recreated the photo, he was just thinking,
holding an
going on
almost
here?
11-year-old kid.
and turns out he's also playing the drums now as well.
Yes.
So that was just really
That's
nice.
cool,
So
yeah,
he got to sit on the kit, and I gave him a pair of drumsticks as well. I think he got a T-shirt as well. Right?
Chris gave him a hat.
Chris gave him a hat.
He got the
Like
T-shirt and the hat signed
Oh,
by
we
the whole
signed
band
it as well. We signed it too. That's true.
So his mind was just blown that
Oh,
night.
yeah,
It's
that's
just like-
true. And now
He's
you
put it
know-
this way. He put it in these words. He said it was better than pizza, which is
Ooh, well, that's
hard
something.
to
That's
do.
saying something. And now he's going to go through it all again.
Yeah.
And now
Tomorrow night, yeah.
and you're going to get the full set.
Yes.
Because last time we got casino set.
We got the casino shorter
So
set.
you're going to
Yes.
get extra songs, including intermission. So
Mhm.
So that's so the thing is, this all happened in like May-ish time, and I know that we talked about next Genesis episode coming, Me and Virgil episode coming up is the In the Cage medley, which I was hoping to have released by this guy's birthday, which was May 22nd. And it's now August, and it's finally completed. So we just got to now release it. So
Okay. Well, and at this point, this will probably be after the thing.
well, yeah. By the time you read this,
you should have it by now.
You should hopefully have it by now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but because of the whole thing and like trying to still mentally put my mind towards it and dealing with family back home and all this stuff as well, because we've got kids back home who are missing daddy very, very much.
And you've been moving.
We've been moving about 6 times or
Yep.
whatever the last few months
So
as
you've
well.
got, we talked about, we can get all these episodes done, I think, while you're on tour.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not going to expect anything because I know you're touring. It's busy. Even though you have days off and you're not doing as much during the day, you still have sound check every time.
It's
traveling.
It's
and everything.
weird.
Yeah.
Well, because during the daytime would have been perfect to do it, but then you're working during the daytime. So when you get back from work, it's like, let's do it at 5 o'clock. That's when I'm sound checking. That's when the work starts for me, you know. So
I mean, and we're only able to do this really now is because you've got a few days off in between.
Exactly.
And
you took days off as well. So there you go.
Yeah, that's true. I would have been at work today.
No, exactly. So that's it. That's it. So okay. So now let me jump to my question. All right. Oh yeah. So I guess if you could, which instrument of Genesis would you like
then
to
it's
play?
easy. That's the keyboard.
That would be the keyboard,
It's
because I still have recordings of the two of us jamming.
we talked about this.
Pink Floyd Genesis
Pink
stuff
Floyd?
in our cellar back in Spain, and I don't know how you got hold of the keyboard. Probably belonged to Paul Vetters or whatever like that.
Well, there was one place we had where it had a double organ. I don't know if you remember that house. It was weird. It was just there. This was the other house. Because I was wanting keyboards a little bit, even though I couldn't play them.
No, and you were good. You managed to. No.
We talked about this earlier.
No. But you managed to.
I was a good emulator.
You managed
is
to
the name
work.
of the keyboard, by the way.
Yes, it is. You managed to work out the chords.
Yeah.
You managed to.
I managed to put my hand where Tony might have put them. I could put it this way: I'm a fantastic air keyboardist. I can do Tony doing, supper's ready
In the cave.
whatever you want. Yeah, I can do it and look fantastic doing it. And actually, I have done that previously before when we did back in the theatre days, and we were doing.
Oh, yeah.
No, it wasn't Camelot. It was Finnegan's Wake.
And you had to play
And
guitar.
the start of the second act, they were doing a song, and I was playing guitar in the side there.
But I was
I
impressed.
don't know how to play guitar.
I know, but I was impressed because your left hand was moving.
I was changing chords and
when the chords are supposed to be
Yes.
changed. I have no idea if they were the right
They
chords.
were. No. But I had multiple people say, "You look like you were really probably playing guitar." I was not. I was pretending.
Yeah.
I'm a good pretender.
Because I just hate that when the chords are changing and the hand's just there.
But I would, and I think I might have mentioned this before, I would love to learn piano fully and to be able to play some stuff. Like I've done a little bit of where I've watched a YouTube video of the guy playing the stuff like the intro for Fading Lights and stuff, and I was able, and actually Abacab, and I was able to copy it and make the sound and things like that. But it would be lovely to learn it. But yes, keyboards.
Yeah, figured.
You can't say drums.
No. I was kind of thinking like either Mike's bass player because he was just a phenomenal bass player.
And it really gets missed.
But then again, and absolutely no offense to Steve Hackett whatsoever, but I just love Dowell as a guitarist. And he actually makes the guitar sound attractive to me. Because I just can't stand all those guitars. It's just all about guitar for them. The Steve Vai, Joe Satriani's or whatever. No disrespect to them whatsoever. Just like I'm not a person who would like to listen to guitar music. That being said, the Dowell Sturmer solo album you talked about might sound interesting because he's replicating the melodies.
Yeah. And he'll put a solo in at the end.
And he was not just waddling all over the place. And I love his feel as a guitarist. And he just, like I said, I would love to. I'm torn between those two because I love the bass. But to play
hard, it's such a cool
to be able to stand there,
a lot, really.
to be able to stand there, have the ability to play like the Firth of Fifth solo, just Dowell style.
Yeah,
I would have loved to do that. Yeah, so,
minus the bit on our videotape.
Yeah, we talked about that.
That's also imprinted into my mind.
All right, next.
I don't know.
I thought you had questions.
I was just going to try to do it off the cuff. I mean, how have you felt with the podcast going? And
well, apart from little delays in the episodes, and
but
everything
that happens. I mean,
but I think
remember what the stat was. It's like 70%. It might even be 80% of podcasts don't go past episode 3. That's all podcasts that get made.
Really?
Yeah, most of them. It's a thing you got to keep doing and making.
Yeah.
Most people don't.
Oh, okay.
And then the more episodes you do, the more it drops off because it's a lot of work to do, as you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and to keep doing it and wanting to do it and stuff. Yeah.
I like to think that, like, my wife was mentioning because, like, she was just getting so fed up with me just sitting behind a computer all day and just be like, "You doing the podcast?" I was like, "Yes." It's like, "Oh, how long does it take?" It's like, "How far are you? You've been working on this for 3 days."
Yeah.
I'm about 10 minutes in. So,
Right.
but she said, surely there's AI for everything these days? Surely there's going to be AI editing going on or whatever. I was like, yeah, I could probably do it. I could probably even outsource it and hire someone else to do it. But I just know when I get it back, I'll be like,
This is wrong.
yeah, but you could do that. You could do that. You could do that. It's not wrong, Mom. It's like
This is
I'll
also
do
true
that.
podcasting that,
Yeah.
you want to do it all
I
right
wouldn't
yourself.
do it myself.
Until you get someone like I have with my podcast where I've got Mike, my sound design guy, who is just way better at it than me. And I
Right.
acknowledge, okay, you're just going to do it. And then I'll tell you things that I want to change. Because you can do it much better than I
mean,
can.
I'm liking that we're getting a nice response. I mean, fair enough. I think due to like perhaps the time frame between the episodes that I'll be honest. I see like we've got quite a nice amount of viewers for our very first episode, our premiere episode, and then like anything, the numbers dropped a little bit and bit by bit and everything. But I think I really like the subject matters we're doing. We're not just we're not just going through album by album.
And
by
that's
album.
when I've talked to people. That's what they expect it to be. And it's like, no, it's not that. We're doing whatever we want, doing different things. Yeah. Like this.
To prove that we actually are, nerds in this, that we want to like discuss things that we never really thought about discussing, and hope maybe other people might not have thought about discussing before. Be like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, like I said,
the weird lettering of certain album names that kind of ties in and say
Yeah.
Steve is dead or something.
yeah. Or what kind of font would you put on a T-shirt?
Yeah.
For example. So it's just things like these, and I think I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it because it's just a wonderful. Because I've always been a massive fan of. I always said to Virgil, thank you. I was like, should I go with Alex or Virgil? I said to him because he said, okay, so after our first episode recording, Alex said like, okay, so I'll get working on the editing and everything. I'm like, well, actually, I would love to do the editing. And you were like, really? Oh, thank God, yes, please. Because I mean, this guy runs another whole other podcast. Like other podcasts and so much other stuff, and that's not including like.
And I've done, especially on my main podcast, I've done that. I've done everything.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm very happy to-
this guy needs to write a book about time management. I'll be reading it religiously. So I was so happy to do that because I've always been a fan of like editing, and a lot of the times I was just doing it for fun, But I have done some voiceover work as well, so obviously I had to edit that, do post-production on that with sound and blah, 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 and everything. And I got really good at it as well. I've been doing it for years, and all sorts of programs I got my hands on, free programs, obviously, whether I was creating, editing, because some old bands I would be in, we would just do everything ourselves. Let's make a music video. Let's just film us walking around Ealing, because we were like a drunk Brit pop band. So let's have us walk around West London, going into pubs, just drinking pints of beer. Right, we've got that now. What are we going to do about this? And I was like, well, let me have a go at putting this all together and everything. And then I would use this program.
Like indie filmmaking.
And that's how I got into editing. And I was like, I'm really liking this because I never really knew like the magic sometimes of what you're watching something. It really comes down to how it's edited altogether.
Completely. Well, and I've done audio, but I've never done video stuff, which is where you've
got
your skills and
don't
stuff.
get me wrong. I think if I had the right technology, I'll probably be more into videoing, but I know that it's so difficult. It's not difficult, but it's just way more challenging than just audio because you've got so much more to
But I mean,
at
what you do
visuals.
already with finding stuff on YouTube and putting the stuff together.
Yeah.
It creates each episode. I think it just makes a much better experience. I look forward to, even though we record the episode and I have fun doing it, I look forward to seeing what you come up with, to see what footage you can bring.
And I'm not sitting down and working out. It's literally just going through the episode. And you say something, and I'm like, "Oh, I can hear Phil saying that," and you're replicating a line that Phil or Tony or whatever say. So I would.
My hair look all right.
My hair all right?
Yeah, exactly. I would literally try and find that and throw it in, And then obviously, if it's then YouTubing, I will find the visual version of that. You see, it doesn't always work, but I would try and do that. You see, and because I think it would just make it snappy. Because I love the snappiness of it. And let's face it, people love to keep being distracted by new things and everything, And people these days just, I don't know, depending who they are with everything, it feels like this age they just won't sit and listen to just people talking for 45 minutes of just two guys talking. Because we have checked out other Genesis podcasts and things like this, and I was trying other ones because I went through the whole Tabletop Genesis podcast 2 or 3 times now, I think. I had the honor of meeting those two guys in the flesh.
Well, I was about to say, we made it to 47 minutes and haven't mentioned Tabletop Genesis.
Yeah, there we go.
Now's a good time to mention them and pull back Aussie Floyd again and say, you got to meet Mike and Tom.
Yeah, Mike and Tom, the Tabletop Genesis, yes. Because
the founding members.
The founding members, yes.
The Peter and Tony.
Yeah, I got the honor because turns out, well, thanks to you actually, because you said you're going to be playing like in the Jersey area, not close to where they are, and it's like, why don't we try and get them?
It's all about connections, because I've been
connections.
chatting and friends with them for years, and just
there you go. And I thought like, wow, it'd be amazing. So it was so surreal because I knew what they looked like from the website and everything, and then when they came to the show, we met first at the meet and greet and everything, and then got them in, and then we chatted afterwards. And I was just saying to the guys, I was like, it is so weird to hear your voices, yet see you actually with it coming out of your mouths. I feel like I'm listening to a podcast.
And I'm sure in the future, the video of this version, you put the photo of that you sent to me then.
yeah.
Right here.
Right now. Yes. It will be right.
But then, and then after the gig, you called me on WhatsApp, and you're just like, oh, it's just Dad hanging out with Mike and Tom after the gig. Hearing them, and we just had a nice half-hour chat.
It was so great to meet those guys, and they had a great time. And then they kind of tagged us in as well. They took a picture of me and with Dave Fowler backstage as well, and they said, "Oh, it was thanks to Alex setting this up for us. We got to meet Australian Pink Floyd and Dan and Dave. Great conversationalists."
I was really happy because Mike has often said he's not a fan of tribute bands.
Yeah.
And
so
I was wondering what he was going to think about this.
Yes,
and he was clearly blown away by it.
And I know that Tom, he has mentioned Floyd on the podcast back, and so I knew he was a fan as well, massive fan. So
well, I think Mike is a fan of Pink Floyd, but he doesn't do much. He doesn't care about tribute bands. So he doesn't listen to hear it that way or whatever. And I've definitely heard one of the first Pink Floyd cover bands I heard was like, okay, but then after hearing Ozzy play, it's like, okay, that wasn't good. I mean, I do feel I want to make the point here too, as Mike mentioned it. We didn't record that video, but you were there as a witness. He did say he would like to get us on the show. At some point.
He did.
So it seems important to put this here as proof, as evidence that we heard it from the lips of Mike that he would like to get us on the show at some point.
And when he said that, it's just like, this is just like a bucket list, honestly, So,
well, I mean, you're playing your superstar drummer now in a band. Check that off, and then tabletop. Check that off.
Because, like I said, I just loved their podcast from day one.
But see, I enjoyed having them all as a big group. It was kind of fun, and that's why they started it, because they enjoyed doing it together. And now there's only 2 left for them.
Yeah.
But the fact that it kind of emulates with Genesis, is
I know,
fantastic.
it's funny that, right?
You can't script this stuff. All right,
and then they tried welcoming like other like singers, guest stars.
And the guest stars have been fun though.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Yeah,
but my point being though is like then you listen.
That's Ray Wilson and that's
I was talking about like listening to other Genesis podcasts, and I was like listen to this one podcast. I won't say what it is because I can't remember what it's called anyway. But it was just 2 guys in a room just talking.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, okay, this is fine. I mean, they got some interesting things. There wasn't really a subject matter, to be honest, I think. And then they were just talking for 45 minutes. And I was just like, okay, well, I got through that. Let's see what episode 2 is like.
Did you learn anything? No.
Let's see what episode 2 is like. Exactly the same thing. 45 minutes, it's like, I can't do this. It's just so boring, And plus, they were a little bit like, as if they were stating as if their opinions really mattered, as if that's the only opinions that you should listen to, kind of thing.
Right.
And so I was just fine with it, So, yeah.
Well, I feel like because we don't do everything kind of set to a certain chronological order and like that, we generate new stuff. We learn new things from each other. We have discussions, not just to enjoy chatting with each other again, but we learn stuff about it. We have, if you will, Genesis moments where new things come from it. A genesis of it.
Well, that's true. Actually, there was a great. Cause I'm a massive Queen fan as well, and I was listening to a fantastic podcast called the Queen Pod, and it was run by all English people, including like a famous English comedian, a famous English. She was like a stage, like a what's called West End performer as well. And sadly, I just can't remember the name. Anyway, It was fun. I absolutely loved it, and I learned so many stories about it and everything. And a couple of the members they were still interviewing for Brian May. You had also the guy who is actually in charge of the Queen archives and everything.
Oh, cool!
And he still runs right now. There's the Queen live moments or whatever on YouTube. It's a thing that's going on, and he's in charge of all of that.
Oh, cool!
And you hear him narrating a lot of Queen documentaries. Anyway, it was fantastic, and sadly, it just stopped around the Flash era because they just couldn't do it anymore. Gordon.
Oh,
so
before you read the online, remember the Flash software thing? That was
all right, no. They did the Flash Gordon soundtrack, and then after that was going to be the Hot Space album, I think. And I was like, oh, I'll be intrigued what they said about that. But then they said like, oh, we're not doing it anymore, sadly. And it's just kind of like, crushing of the heart. I forgot my point.
You learned stuff from it.
I learned stuff from it.
That's what we were talking about.
Genesis I know. You learned stuff from it. That was
Genesis moments.
There was
that's what I was talking about.
I know. There was a moment I had to this. There was a point I had to this though with the Queen pod.
Was there a link with Genesis?
No. This is all going to be cut, by the way.
No, we're keeping this in. Do not cut.
What was the point, though? It was just lovely to listen to it because just to hear new stuff about it, which I never thought about before.
Because with Queen, it's like I love the music and everything, but I don't really know much about the band or whatever and stuff like that, and just I had Night at the Opera. I had that recommended actually by a podcaster because they said there's so much in the album that it's almost like
it's just
an audio, sound design thing. So I got it on vinyl and listened to it. It's like it's amazing.
Yeah, it is like a performance, like an opera.
And there's that one. I can't remember I don't know the song off the head, where he's like singing from different sides. Freddie.
Oh, they always
like a cappella and stuff, but it's like all
yeah.
mixing together. And then after the end, you get Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
like,
just to top the album off, you know.
Yeah.
When I because obviously I don't know what I'm talking about Queen now, but like when I got the first album we got of Queen was their Greatest Hits 1, and Bohemian Rhapsody kicked the album off. And so when I got the Night of the Opera, I was like, oh, it finishes the album.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough, you got the whole God Save the Queen prologue thing, epilogue, whatever it's called, but I thought, cool, I like that, good. I mean, the album, it's a fun. Hence why it's part of the classic albums, and everything.
So Queen live at Wembley is one of my favorite things.
The best they've ever sounded.
Yeah, I mean, just for
Live Aid is something else.
It's not better than Seconds Out, but it's very
Live Aid is something else. But Wembley, I can play that note for note on the drums, note for note,
and I can say what Freddie's about to say to everyone.
Yes, exactly. So, what's your favorite Genesis tour?
Oh. From just as a fan or going to? It's a good one.
Any. I mean, I guess I can kind of tie it in with the second question, or not. I was going to say favorite Genesis set list, but then you could say like the set list.
I think we'll do an episode on favorite set list. Probably favorite too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard. I feel like there's one show, and then we'll go into more detail when we do the episodes on this. There's one show in '82, I think it is, where they do In the Cage medley and Supper's Ready in the same show, I think.
Ooh. Really?
They don't do the Duke
82?
Suite. I can't remember which year it is. I think it's between 80 and 82. There's some show or a few shows where they do.
Oh, you mean the whole of Supper's Ready? Oh, that's their. Yeah, I think that's their 3 Sides Live tour. Yeah, this is like the post Abacab tour,
and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, I think they're playing at the Marquee.
Yeah,
they're playing at the Marquee Club.
Those two.
I've got a recording of it. Yeah,
because they talked about before how when you put Sticks Up as Ready in, it's like that takes out 4 or 5 songs.
Yeah,
what you can do and stuff.
When I listen, I got a recording of that, and like many of the YouTube,
I remember when I was going through my bootleg phase, and I was like, oh my god.
So that's right. They're playing the Marquee. Phil is saying, like, obviously it's very cramped up here. Just fan club. They come to see them. They opened with Dance on the Volcano, which is like, ooh, they really have fixed up this tour and changed it up. And they're not starting with a previous album number because they were doing it for the whole Abacab time era as well. Because this is still the Abacab era, but it's like the extended tour, 3 Sides Live tour. The other one, Dance on the Volcano, then going to Behind the Lines. Very still an interesting transition. I'm not sure.
Right,
if that was...
they didn't do the Duke Suite. They just pulled that one out.
They just it was
but
between Dance on the Volcano into Behind the Lines, it was a bit of a strange
double starter.
It was a weird. It was almost like as if like Tony going like, what's going on? I don't know. Anyway,
sure we are.
Yeah, they just kind of blew them away with Abacab, and I was like, oh, what are they going to do now at one? Phil's doing a strange story. I don't know whether that was the story with the big-breasted lady or something like that. But then he just said, like, anyway.
This is Salisbury.
Like, what the hell? And the whole fan was just like, are you kidding me? Yeah, they did the whole show. Okay, good one.
But the other part of, again, the other one I hear people talk about is that Phil was at his best in the late 70s drumming. So I almost feel there might be something from, I don't know, Wind and Wuthering or that time too that might be really particularly up there. But again, this is we're throwing it out. We're throwing it out now, and then when we do a specific episode on it, we can talk about it more. Yeah.
Cool.
You got anything you want to say?
Yeah, I loved the three sides. And then there were three mirrors. Tour set list. I just love the variety of it because they brought the cage back in, Dance with the Moon and Night, just all these ripples as well. They just added so many new tunes to that.
Well, like I said, he had the big drums on the stage. Was that the one too?
Oh, they had two different percussive setups on the stage there. It really was fantastic.
Next question.
Well, it's your turn now.
I don't have anything.
No, you don't have any. All right then. So,
unless it comes to me. Yeah.
So, Alex, who does write,
Virgil, please.
Does write his own podcast and likes to write novels and everything. If you could write a book about Genesis, what would be the subject matter?
We're talking fiction or non-fiction?
Well, it's about the band, So,
well, just do a general history, just everything that's been done before.
Would you? Yeah. Or would there be a certain?
I'll probably write Tony's biography because it seems like he's not doing it.
True. Yeah. That'd be interesting.
And it'd be like, so Phil said this, Mike said this. This is what happened. This is what really went down.
We finally get the truth. The truth uncovered. It's like, yes, Pete and I really did argue, but it was all his fault. So,
I mean, it would be interesting to hear because we've seen a lot of. I feel like we know a lot of what early on with Peter and all the earlier stuff, really up to Lamb. We know all that inside and out. We know all Phil's stuff and experience and everything through the decade and stuff like that. But maybe just seeing stuff that we haven't heard about a little bit of what it's like touring with that, and has they gotten bigger and bigger and and going back in the studio, doing all these different things. Maybe I feel like there's more to be uncovered there that we haven't heard about that could be interesting. Like the We Can't Dance documentary thing.
No Admittance.
No Admittance was just like, I could watch this all day.
Yeah.
Just like, it was so,
to
be the fly on the wall with stuff,
Yeah, and then when the what's it called, the video show or video box set came out, and then you had the Mama Tour, which included then Phil's footage of when they were recording the Mama album, the Shapes album, where you would call it the self-titled album, and you had Phil with his very supposed to be inconspicuous camera. He has this massive thing on his shoulders, and how he's like creating this. But that's not the point. But the point is you get to see how things were, not just of Genesis recording an album, even though everyone admits that it was very gutting to not see Phil actually play drums on that. It was after he'd done all his drum parts. But even when he's got the lyrics there, Tony's showing him how the melody for Home by the Sea goes, which was really cool.
Seeing how that again, it was kind of leading to that too. With because I was been listening a while ago to what were they called? Is it the Headley Grange? No, because is that the Lamb?
Yeah,
not the Lamb. This was for Selling England. There's demo stuff.
Oh, the Bray Studios or something.
I can't remember, but it's and there's a ton of it. It's unfortunately it's mainly them playing Battle Epic Forest over and over. But you can really hear bits and Phil chatting and Mike saying stuff, and it's just hearing how they develop things and what the particular sounds like then, and then as it changes later. I've said before in an earlier episode, just listening through all the different prog rock, and it's there's no band like this. Tony uses different sounds all the time that no other bands seem to do. They tend to stick to the same sound. It's how do they decide that? How do they play around with that? So I feel like there's a story in there too.
True.
What led them to? They're probably all forgotten about now. But how and it probably just comes down to jamming a bit, but how they came together to put all these.
Well, this is my point that they talked about saying, they kind of when they got their own studio, the farm, they kind of started creating songs from jamming. But then you listen back to these footages.
Musical box is literally a bunch of puzzle pieces stuck together,
exactly,
and stuff is ready. But
but a good chunk of it.
But a musical box is such an amazing song because of it.
It's just them jamming, even back with the Peter Gabriel era. That it's
even down to what's it? Their school days too, because it's all that stuff comes in there and bits and pieces and stuff.
So they haven't really changed that, and I think
Mhm.
they just developed even further now because they became so much more knowledgeable now with music, and they had so much more
So
experience.
they compare one other artist I really love on a high level with them is Mike Oldfield. But because his music is, it took me a while to realize all his earlier stuff too. It's like, oh, this is just prog rock. And it's just amazing but he puts a lot of orchestral stuff in there too. But there you understand it's him playing around, he's got different musicians playing the music and stuff, but he's making it all, which you kind of get.
Yes.
As a writer, I understand that because you're putting it all and doing it all together yourself. When you do it as a band, it's so much harder to get things coming. That's why they left the band and all these different things. And it feels like that a lot with Steve's stuff now, that he has all these other, but he always has an idea in his head what he's going for and what he's trying to make with his music. Whereas when you have so many different parts, making them fit together and work in this way, just like Cinema Show wasn't supposed to have a keyboard solo.
No. See? Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Peter.
That'd be a good discussion. It's like, Tony, how did that conversation go between you and Peter?
Peter said no keyboard solo. Tony said you can bleep that up.
Well, but hang on. But didn't they say that it was either no keyboard solo or no after the ordeal? And then in the end, both got included in the album. I just said, let's just do it. But no, just quickly going back to the.
Well, maybe it was like, no, we're keeping the keyboard solo.
Yeah.
And Peter's like, fine, then I get after the ordeal.
Yeah, I think it was that. Yeah. But just quickly going back to the.
I'm going to say random shit.
Quickly going back to the making of the Shapes album. That one of my favorite moments to see, and it's because like I've had experience in the recording studio as well, is watching Hugh Padgham. At least I think it was Hugh Padgham because I know they had another assistant engineer in there.
Yeah.
Doing an edit. Right, and it's not like you just go on the computer and you just go like, okay, highlight that, cut it, slim it down, blah, blah, blah. No. It's literally grabbing the analog tape, putting it there. You saw him using a device, slitting it in there, cutting it, slicing it, blah, 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 taping it back together, rolling the tape, and you just hear it going through. And it's like, hang on, so that's the edit. And you just hear it, and you don't hear a single thing. No cut, no anything like that.
Nowadays, where it's just
and all of them are just going like, "Argh!" And he's doing
that
so
would be
fast.
interesting too. Just like because they always have to listen to the song over and over and doing these things and choices. Like how many times did they listen to it? What shaped their minds with how they wanted to hear it? How much of it was Phil? How much of it was all of them deciding stuff? There
you go.
There's a lot of there's still a lot of stuff to be told. We don't really need we did this album then, we did this tour then, and we did this, and then I had this divorce, whatever stuff. These things going on, and then live or whatever. Like we already know all the basic stuff, but it's the the nitty gritty.
It'll be like someone making a new documentary, and you're like, okay, but what are you going to talk about? Are you going to go through the history again? Because honestly, we've all heard it.
We've got the full picture of the full body. Yeah. But I want to know what the veins are and what the blood going through those veins is and how it all fits together. The bones, the skeleton.
Writer. There you go. That's the writer there. Okay, fantastic. So, could be the one. I put here, what would be your ideal Genesis reunion setup plus key? Doesn't have to be a whole set, but key set list songs.
Are they there? Are they all healthy and good? Are they all 22 again?
Let's say that. Let's say as Mike said. If it's
how they are now, unfortunately, I don't want to.
As Mike said, if Phil really could put his mind to it, he could actually sit down and be like, you know what, I want to play drums again, and maybe have his mentality just say to his body, like, come on, let's repair it now and do it.
But I don't think so. Not at his age.
No, I know. Sadly, Phil just doesn't have that mindset.
That's what I'm saying. And that would be my opinion with the last Domino tour. It's wonderful they did it and they did incredible stuff, but I feel Phil wasn't the Phil we know in that way.
I know. It was very heartbreaking to see. Heartbreaking to see.
But was it again? It was the
let's just say Phil is good.
So it's a fantasy anyway, right? They're all kind of good. And what my ideal set list would be, is what are you saying?
Well, not the full set list, but like key songs you would love them to play.
One thing I've come to realize, the more amazing footage that comes out that we see in high HD quality and stuff, is I really don't like Peter's costumes and stuff. Like it was cutting edge and something incredibly fresh, sort of like David Bowie was doing a bit too and stuff like that. And just like it was new and different and very cool with that. But I do get Tony's point that it really does feel like it was taking away a bit from the music.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
I think if they were going to do it, Peter would have said, like, condition, I'm not going to wear the costume. Because you can't really see this man who's approaching 80 to be wearing a flower hat and kicking in the air.
We can tell with that early footage where they only had 1 or 2 cameras on there at the time and stuff, and it's not that good. And what's the camera on all the time? It's always on Peter because that's the show. And it's like, no, the band is the show, but we're not getting that. Rarely do we get a shot of Tony playing anything or Mike playing or Steve, and that's you can tell that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think using the technology these days, they would have Peter there, but they would have some sort of figure on a screen representing a flower man, slipper man costume.
Do that, I guess, yeah.
Those kind of things.
But I've worked out what the best set list would be. It's the medley I made. I put together
your medley,
which I called the Revelations medley.
Yes, interesting choice.
And I pulled basically most of Tony's solos and a number of guitar solos, and just mashed it into. And then in my fantasy, this was during the Turn It On Again tour at a random, and you can relate to this now, a random small show in the Midwest, where instead of doing their usual set list, they kicked off with Turn It On Again, and then they played this 2.5-hour medley.
God.
The problem is, I would say, Phil would need his drum kit to be twice the size. Yeah. Mike would need the spitting image guitars of about 6 of them.
We talked about last episode. Yeah. So this will be instrumental then.
Yes, that's what I would love.
So Peter doesn't have to be there then.
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's hard because, like his singing on the musical box is amazing. I love that. Put it that way. And some stuff it is part of it, but the music is what I love so much about the band.
Right.
And we talked about it when we mentioned Epping Forest not being that good or whatever and stuff like that, where it's like, well, you could just make it instrumental and then it's just, that's what Trick of the Tail was, and if you just hear an instrumental, it's a pretty fantastic.
So then this probably then covers my other question then, saying because you know how probably a lot of us know the story now that after Peter left, that Phil said well, why don't we just become an instrumental band?
Yeah.
And I was going to say, would you have stayed a fan then if they had become an instrumental
Completely.
band?
Mike Oldfield is 90% instrumental, and it's amazing stuff. I love it. Yeah. Again, I use it a lot to write to and just be inspired by.
Yeah.
So I totally would have been completely.
Stacey from Tabletop certainly would have stayed a fan as well.
Oh, yeah, you want to give a plug to her show?
I forgot what it was called.
What was it? No Words Music? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. Stacey every first and third Thursday of the month.
Remember that part of it? Okay.
I think so. And
it's on the prog.
Yeah.
I'm trying to play the intro in my head.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you got this, so you listened to it?
Yeah, I'm trying to play the because it's prog. It's not prog rock.
Sorry, it's like, you listen to it because I haven't. But I kept trying to find the right days to listen to it, and I keep missing it. So,
Progzilla Radio.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Progzilla Radio.
Yeah.
It's on
No Words Music. I think it's called. Yeah,
it's on Progzilla Radio.
Progzilla Radio.
That's how you can find it.
Stacey Godfrey.
Yeah,
No Words Music.
She does prog rock set lists, but there's never any singing.
See,
it's just all instrumental.
This just proves to the fact, right? We're not in this for the competition, okay? Yes. We're plugging.
We want to share the love of music.
Another Genesis podcast, who's not even there anymore. Yeah. Well, that answers that question. Okay, cool. Right, makes sense.
Quickly go back to the book. Actually, I would write one chapter on it and say, Phil knew he was going to be the singer all along. That's still my belief. He was hoping he wasn't going to have to be, probably at some level, because he loved drumming and such, and he wasn't sure at that point how he was going to manage it to keep drumming. I think he was probably a little scared. It was a bit like when Stephen King got run over in 1999.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and almost died.
Whoa.
And it took 6 months of recovery, and he got addicted to painkillers and all this other stuff.
Was it a red Cadillac that ran him over?
No, it was a white van.
Oh, God.
Because he did these walks. And you get everything in this episode, by the way. So random. And then, so it took a long time to recover. He was addicted to painkillers for a while and all this stuff. And then came off and everything. And then, and that's when he wrote Dreamcatcher, which is not a good book.
No good film. Yeah.
No. And, but shortly after that, he wrote the last 4 books of The Dark Tower. He was like, I might not finish this. I need to finish this series so that my fans will.
Wow.
Because at that point, he'd been doing it every 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
So he finished it. And then towards the end of it, someone stuck a mic in his face and said, what are you going to write next? And he's like, I'm never writing another damn word. But But he did. It's
Yeah.
just at that point he didn't want to think about writing ever again and took a
Right.
bit of a break and then
Right.
kept writing.
Right.
Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, Phil. He was worried that he was never going to drum again, and so that's why he said, "I don't want to be the singer, probably, or whatever." But he probably knew he could also do it and still sing okay in Three Tail. But he didn't want to do it because he was worried about not being on the drums again. That's my crazy theory.
Interesting.
The conspiracy theory.
Well, there's one picture where he's got the band with Peter still in the band way back in the day, and Peter's there, but Phil happens to be just sitting there like this, and someone left a great caption on these saying like, "I wonder what this band would be like if I was the singer."
Also, I'm guessing you're putting that picture here right now.
Oh yeah, there it is. Right there you go. All right, good. Well, we're almost out now. So, yeah, I don't think we've ever talked about this. We have rated our top A-side Genesis songs, but I was wondering if you had an opinion about top 5. If you had top 5 B-sides.
I kind of need a list handy a little bit, but
should be in your head. So, I know one of them's going to be.
okay, On the Shoreline.
Yeah, there we go. There it
I
is.
don't know if it's at number 1 because "Do the Neurotic" has been. The more I listen to that, and again, it's all about that music.
Instrumental.
I think I've got to put that at number 1.
Okay,
"Do the
great.
Neurotic." It's just the music. It's just like, oh my god, this is a jam, and it's so sad. I've got on the album, and it's so just like them. There you could just be a fly on the wall, listen to them do this stuff. But it's also like you could also hear bits where it's like they didn't just do this in one session. They took a couple of takes.
Yeah.
They added what do they
Jammed
do?
it out.
Overdubbed stuff and things like that. Added stuff to it to make this an incredible bloody song. So yeah, "Do the Neurotic," "On the Shoreline."
On the Shoreline would be next. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hearts on Fire.
No.
Yeah, I know.
"Feeding the Fire" I do like though.
Oh yeah.
Because it's got a good rock to it.
It
It's
is.
really,
It is. Again,
it's like
an album that people should
it's
have
almost
said
like-
should have been on the album.
They're like country, well not country rock, but like that, hard rock type of thing, classic rock is what it kind of is. Which you can't. I mean, they'd say that's all, but that's all the country, more of a country song. That's the one they play on the rock stations.
Yeah,
But that'll be one that could be played on that.
and I guess because maybe one of the reasons they also got left off because again, it's kind of matching a little bit of it's a political song. It's a bit similar with Leonard Confusion. The lyrical content. You know,
Okay.
it's about the politics. Kind of like pissing on their own fire, kind of thing. So, yeah.
But nothing's changed. But that's I think I'll go with that.
Okay, we got 3.
Huh?
2 more.
I did 3. Oh, we'll do 5.
We'll do 5. Top 5.
Well, you want to start with yours? What I pick some more.
All right.
Yeah, actually, the other 2 are B-sides that never got released. They're called
Never got released.
"Jumping on the Tree" and yes, no one's ever heard them, but they're out there. I think.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let me think. I mean, I still enjoy. Is it "Submarine"? What's the one that joins with? Well, I guess it's "It Yourself," isn't it? That joins with "Los Angeles," kind of.
Oh, what? It's itself.
It is "It's Yourself."
It's itself.
I do like that kind of. It does make a nice. It does like when "Los Angeles" is perfect on its own.
Yeah.
As our best song.
Yes.
Go back to the episode.
Yeah.
Favorite songs we need to check. But when you have the other one, you realize, oh, this is a perfect puzzle piece that fits nicely together and is a balance. To the point where, even though "Trick" is my favorite album, the weakest song from the album has always been "Trick of the Tail" for me.
Right.
You could just take that out and put that in.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah,
Or you could add it down there and have it after "Trick of the Tail" because it's not a
Trick of the
super
Tail.
long
Yeah,
album.
actually, that's a good idea. That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
All
Okay,
right,
right, 4 then.
One more.
One more to go. One more. Again,
it's hard.
Peter Gabriel era?
What B-sides? What, we're talking like "Howard the Barrel" and...
No.
Okay.
No.
Give me something.
Well, the other one I can think of, unfortunately, is Twilight Ale House.
Oh, shit, yeah, okay, that one.
Okay, great.
Actually, that's going to jump up to 3.
Right. I'm kind of wondering
I got that one, yes.
I'm
The
kind of
one
wondering-
B-side.
I'm kind of wondering if that's going to be in my number 1. That's because it just...
I think we talked about it, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about Trespass.
Trespass,
about
yes.
how it should be on the album.
I love that one. It's just, it might be number 1 for me.
It's so
Might be
interesting
number
what
one
it
for me.
does.
Yeah,
And it
then-
sounds a little different with various
Yeah,
live versions too.
might be number 1 for me, and then follow that by On the Shoreline, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe Do the Neurotic is probably either 3 or 4. However, I'm going to pay respect to another singer here, and
Would
I'm
you like
going
to drum to that song?
Huh? What?
Do the
It's
Neurotic?
amazing to drum to that song. Yeah. But I'm going to pay respect to another singer here, and I'm going to do what's it called? Anything Now.
Oh,
Ray Wilson.
yeah, I kind of forgot those. There are some good ones
There
up
are
there
some
too.
really
Yes.
cracking, and I
Even
love
though
that
people-
one, even though it really does sound like Tony is
Or there's
is just
Sign
whittling.
Your Life Away that sounds like what, Peter?
Yes, it does. Yeah. But I like that one. Just that the song kicks off with the chorus and it just keeps going back to the chorus. Well, actually, Anything Now also kicks off with the chorus.
That's a good groove to it.
It's a killer
I
groove.
also loved Banjo Man.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
bloody
yeah.
catchy.
Yeah, I love the fret and 7/8.
So I'd say I wish Tony would just do an album of that. He didn't, but if you just do an instrument, I mean that's really what I'd like. I would like an instrument album of Tony of that stuff of fret and 9/8. Well, 7/8.
No, but
9/8. 9/8.
7/8. Yeah, but I
7/8
do
or 9/8?
7/8.
It's not 9/8.
Nope.
Okay.
7/8. No, it was Apocalypse in 9/8. This was 7/8. Yeah, but Anything Now. Oh man, dare I say? I think
Is that the one that has the cool keyboard solo in there?
Well, I mean, keyboard solo. It's more like Tony's just kind of like, well, I'm just going to play this. Now I'm playing this. Now I'm playing this. Kind of like it kind of in a way works, but it's a very loose rhythmic thing. He's just making it up. I think it's just completely improv kind of thing. I love it though. It's very starts off really jazzy and it goes with kind of thing. But I just love the groove on it. I might put it there as my number three. My number 3. So Twilight Alehouse, On the Shoreline, Anything Now, Do the Neurotic, and then anything from the Evidence of Autumn.
Oh crap! Forgot about those two.
It's the whole Duke.
Those are nice,
and
but
then the 3 era, I don't know.
Picking top 5 Phil B-sides is going to be bloody hard, by the way, because he has a lot of good ones. That should be a separate episode.
Yeah.
So we got Open Door, Evidence of Autumn.
Yeah, and then the Day the Lights Went Out.
Oh, what's that other one?
And Vancouver.
Oh, but there's that other one.
Which era?
Me and something it's called. Me and Virgil. Me and Virgil. That should have been our number ones.
I guess. I kind of don't see them as B-sides though, because they were on a what's it called, an EP. So same with. I mean, otherwise you can also then say a Match of the Day and Pigeons and Inside and Out and everything. But I don't see them as B-sides.
I mean, talk about best opening line for Pigeons.
Pigeons. Oh yes. 13 tons of bleak. So Twilight Alehouse, On the Shoreline, Anything Now. Well, that's like Doing the Erotic, and I think Evidence of Autumn. So I think so.
Ending on a down. It's such a sad
I might change the 5th one, but I love the
can't decide if it's first or
feel
fifth,
of
basically.
that and everything because I love heat haze. Can't say it properly. I'm the same with Tom from
I commented,
Tabletop.
by the way.
When he said like Heath, I was like, it's not pronounced Heath Haze.
That's what I commented on. I said I've always thought of it that way.
Yeah, Heath Haze. No, Heat Haze. Because I love that song, and then Evidence of Autumn is like it's like its little brother, So
interesting.
So that's mine. Yeah. That's mine. Right. Right. Okay. I don't know whether it's because, like, with me, I'm being on tour with Ozzy Floyd right now, and me being, the crew members were obviously really
Being
really
a rock star.
interactive with everything. But like, if you could join Genesis, or more realistically, sorry, I'm just reading it from my computer here. If you can join more realistically active solo members on their tour as a crew member, what would you be?
That's at the current.
Yeah, like
Current,
active, like well, I mean, Peter and Steve and Mike, they're
Right.
current, So Tony, I don't know. Tony, just do a solo tour with him for God's sakes, I tell
He's
you,
never done.
it would make a difference.
He's like performed, I think, one song live once, and that was it.
What was that?
That's something from one of the solo stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
It was like I think it might have even been pretend keyboard. I don't remember
Because
It is.
when Genesis got together for the
Okay, to mention Tabletop, they mentioned it in some episode. I remember.
the Genesis got together for like Atlantic Records 88 in 88 for some 40th anniversary or whatever, and Genesis performed. They did solo material too, which included a Tony thing. And I read trivia somewhere saying that was the first time a Tony Banks solo song was performed live.
Yeah, I think Tabletop mentioned that. I think there was that one
So
song.
probably that
was
one
it.
song. Yeah. Throwback. Something. Sorry, Tony.
And again, Mike probably would be a lot of fun to tour with and do stuff with. Do I have to pick a specific job or just tour with? Oh,
both.
But I have to go with Peter.
Okay.
Because that's going to be a lot more fun and professional and stuff.
Dan, what?
Let's be lighting guy.
Ooh, I like it. Nice.
I mean, I sat next to them in October
did.
at the gig. I was watching them. So you're like you're a busy job. You get to enjoy the show every night, and then you're very important because if you're not there, then there's no show.
Cool. You don't want to be like the guy that's dressed in orange walking around the stage.
The set design guys,
Yeah.
you're changing yourself around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's one. Yes. Well, I'll obviously be the drum tech.
The drum tech for himself.
I will get over my fears and just do it. You know?
No, you will be your own drum tech.
Yes.
He's the only drummer in the business that does this.
I still do it to this day. Yeah. No.
He performs for 2 hours, is knackered, then he has to break down his kit.
Yeah.
In
There you go.
22
There
minutes.
you go. Yeah. Everyone waddles off stage and it's like, oh, such a hard job. I sit in a a bean bag backstage somewhere. All right, cool. Well, that's the questions. That's all my questions.
This has been fun.
It has
We
been.
should do this again sometime in a
We
year or
should.
two.
We
Yeah,
should.
of a potpourri. Well, there's one episode I threw out there. I keep knocking it down of picking a favorite prog artist and basically someone you haven't heard from. My plan is basically to get you to listen to some Mike Oldfield, and then we chat about it, and I talk about why it's bloody amazing music, and you're like, yes, it is, now that I listen to it. But obviously that's not going to be Genesis content, so it needs to be kind of a one-off type of thing,
right.
you know.
And
then you'll pick.
Ideally a short episode too. So,
I mean, I didn't know if you were going to, I was going to suggest you do Queen and pick some stuff. I mean, I've gone through it once, at least all their stuff, but just you pick some select albums and be like, these are the really good ones or whatever. And then we each talk about, I think it was like we pick 3 albums each and then we each talk about it.
just sort of another subject we can talk about is your ideal, if they can make it happen, Genesis solo artists collaborative set list, you know. And so like we just get Phil, Peter, let's bring Anthony back onto the stage. He gets over his,
So basically
his
like
stage
archive
fright.
live.
No, like their solo material.
Okay.
And
Is
just
that- how is that-
create the ideal, the perfect solo artist set list. And I don't mean like a Phil set list, Tony, like mix them up. You
Mix
know.
the song. Well, Archive kind of did that, didn't it?
Oh, archive.
That's what I said. Archive
live. Oh, maybe they just play that set. You know,
Archive live. That's what it's
Archive.
called.
Oh, there you go. Or Arc Live or something like that. Yeah, basically, yeah, they would just play that set list. You know? But including is Anthony Phillips is not on there, is he?
I don't know. I don't listen
I don't
to
think
it.
he is. I think it's just about active Genesis members. I think. But basically, Anthony was like, you know what? I've got over my stage fright. I'm going to come out and play live again. That's
I mean,
really
I'd love to watch
ideal.
him. Can
That'll be an
His
ideal.
music is and he sings like great too. I mean,
He's
it's
wonderful.
nice.
He's wonderful. His solo stuff is amazing. I love it.
This will probably be out after the fact, but should we mention the both sides special edition coming?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm intrigued because, like, you know,
I mean, after I got pranked with the Tony Banks doing the special orchestral selling them by the pound, and I thought, oh, it's coming out in September. It's going to be. Well, we did say September, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then they announced, what was it, like a month ago, saying there's a special for the 30th anniversary of both sides, is it?
Oh, both sides.
Yeah, because it's 2024. Yeah, so the 30th anniversary of both sides, they're releasing a 5 LP edition that has a bunch of extra demos and all this stuff on vinyl, which is cool because you can't get that stuff. So
nice.
we were throwing out maybe covering both sides as an album episode too. Because
I'll be intrigued to see what's going to be on there.
But anyway, but then after getting pranked and thinking again, selling it by the pound, I saw this. I was like, this can't be true. It's such a joke. Come on, there's like 5 records for one album.
Yeah.
What are you, crazy? This must be a joke.
Yeah.
But then I was like, but it's not April, so why are they? And then it turns out it is true.
So
and that's their next release, I guess, that they're doing.
Is there like a full disclosure of what's going to be on there? And everything? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Look it up. It's pretty interesting stuff. A lot of demo stuff, some live stuff.
So a lot more stuff than
all the B-sides.
So all the B-sides. Yeah, because I was going to say has to be a hell of a lot more than it was in the Take a Look at Me Now.
Well, and it's the 180 gram half-speed recording.
Oh my god!
So you get like 3 songs per side of the record.
Wow!
I think it's either 3 or 4.
Okay.
That they do that. It's to do with the quality of how good it sounds. Supposedly, I don't notice that.
Well, we should do an episode on that.
But anyway, so that's at least a new release. When we talked about that episode of what they would do next. Well, this is what's coming now. At least it's something. So at least we know.
we'll do that then as well. Yeah.
This has been another short hour and a half episode. When I said this, I think maybe we'll hit 30 minutes. I need to just stop saying that.
Well, we can say we hit 30-ish minutes. Yeah.
3 times.
3 times. Hey, well, then we respected 3 sides.
But if you made it this long, we really appreciate you coming along with us.
Yep, and sticking with us, and thank you for this special episode.
Getting
We
to
hope
hang
we can
out
do
in
these
the
sort of
flesh.
things again, where we're in the flesh. You know.
Well, if this Ozzy Floyd thing keeps working out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Next stop, musical box for me. So yeah,
I know you need to send them your demo tape.
Yeah, then we
I'm
can
just saying, this is me. If you need
Well, 'cause-
anyone, I'm ready.
Well,
I'm just a phone call away.
The bass player is left-handed as well, so I can try and be the left-handed.
So
drummer
what
in
you
that
need to
band.
do now is find someone who knows someone in musical box
Yes.
and start.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm sure
no match.
I'll talk to these lot and see. Surely there's someone in the pipeline.
You said Chris knows everything about music.
maybe he knows. Maybe he knows.
All right, but for now,
Pleasure.
yes.
See, we're this is, again. This is not AI or
Yeah.
split screen or anything. We're actually here in contact.
Yep. There's no third arm coming up behind there. He's messed up AI. Yeah.
Okay, bye bye.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Me and Virgil chop some wood, but we stop by swinging just to listen to a cry.
Thank you for listening to Me and Virgil, a Genesis Brothers podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you can get new episodes as soon as they're released. Feel free to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to mention us to your Genesis friends so you can agree or disagree with what we talked about on the show. Me and Virgil, a Genesis Brothers podcast, is edited by Dan Telander and produced and hosted by Dan Telander, aka me, and Alex C. Telander, aka Virgil. If you'd like to reach us to let us know what you thought about this episode, or if you wanted to correct something we were very wrong about, you can reach us at meandvirgilpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Looking for someone.
You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok under the handle meandvirgilpod for announcements and info about the show, as well as anything else we think you'd be interested in related to all things Genesis. For now, thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it, and see you on the next episode of Me and Virgil, a Genesis Brothers podcast.
Well, me and Virgil, we beat the desert, riding fast and riding hard. We hit the city, the past behind us, so we raced some hell. We had some fun, and to this day, I can hear my saying to me, "You're a big boy now."
Plus,
Stop there. I have a feeling it's going to cut off because we're about to hit the 30-minute mark.
Okay, cool.
And we can just link it up. It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Hey, guess what? We're going to hit over 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can reach an hour.
What's it? You got anything you want to say in 20 seconds?
I just love. I just love.
Just have too much fun. That's the problem.
Yeah, no.